Etapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Peru with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to get God to talk to you, how to communicate with God. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. Don't forget that. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button below to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below and click on the links for the ebooks. They are free. You can download them right away and start reading. If you want to take your knowledge to the next level, you can follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole and become a Patreon supporter for at least $1, $5, $20. It's up to you. You can cancel at any time. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, videos that'll teach you how to meditate, proper breathing exercises, how to communicate with the ancestors. And if you are an Osira level supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. Last but not least, I want you to share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So, Harun Nefer, may Buddha bless you. Grand Rising. I want to tackle this subject, and this is going to be a quick video, because too many people have been confused as to how God works. And the confusion has come about by these pimp pastor ministers. You know, the ones that are in the mega churches making all this money, who do know the secrets, the occult secrets that will hand it down, but they choose to hide this information so they can use their platforms to gain monetarily. And that's to keep you being a student forever and bringing you into tide forever and ever and ever. You see, when we were, I should say, in ancient Kemet, Egypt, or Timeri, you went to priesthood and you graduated after about 40 years to become a full-fledged priest or a Shechem. But it was never intended for you to be a student for life. See, these ministers bank on the fact that most of their congregation is ignorant and will sit there year after year after year, forever the student. Now, this used to happen, as I recall, when I was in the martial arts. A lot of students would complain that the teacher would hold them back, wouldn't teach them the secret moves and things of that nature, which was true because the teacher wanted to keep them coming and making money. If your student gets to your level, they no longer need to be under your tutelage, right? So these ministers' goal is to just have you continually come in there, sit there, and they're going to read from the Bible. But the minister should be empowering you, teaching you secrets on how to get to his or her level. But that's never done because their whole life is constructed around squeezing as much money from you as possible. And most of that money doesn't go into building the church, as they so-called claim. It goes into them buying 2 or 3 vacation homes, a private jet, a yacht. Research this and you will see that most of your well-known ministers, Creflo Dollar, T.D. Jakes, have a lot of money and more than one homes, and jets. While the majority of the people who come to the congregation, I say the median makes about $42,000 a year, while the ministers are worth about $100 million. That makes no sense, and that's not what God intended. But the fault lies not in the ministers, but lies in you for supporting such ministers. You should be smart enough to know that if a minister has 3 vacation homes, yachts, private jet, that something is out of balance, that this is not a minister predicated upon ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness. That this minister is to get money out of you being very civic, crafty, cunning, wordsmith, good orator. You see, it's all predicated upon you coming to the church and listening to a sermon, but never doing any exercises or anything to relieve you of the trauma, the stress, the mental illness that you have accumulated over the years. It's just about verbal discourse. And we know that if a person is mentally ill, they need to seek therapy, sometimes medication, sometimes meditation, sometimes acupuncture, acupressure, sometimes hypnotherapy. But these problems don't go away simply by hearing the word. That's the biggest con game. And what that does is it puts you in a position, it puts you in a position to where your problems become exacerbated. They become worse. Oh, although you may feel the Holy Ghost or feel Jesus, and it may feel great for that week or two, but then you go back to your default setting of jealousy, anger, gossip. Because what they're dishing out can't work, doesn't work. It's based on the Greek and Roman paradigm of verbal discourse. Greeks were so much in paralysis that they couldn't solve their own problems because they were caught up in just debate, verbal discourse. So they couldn't solve the problems vexing humanity. It would take the Hindu religion, the Kemetic religion, the Chinese religion to come along and say, listen, you need to apply some type of hypnosis or trance or homeopathic medicine or acupuncture to deal with these issues you're going through. Listening to something out of the Bible won't help you. And the Bible was constructed by the Illuminati to keep you oppressed. You see, what they don't want you to know is that you're God, that God created you as a vehicle for him to express himself in this fourth dimensional plane, because God cannot express himself in this fourth dimensional plane in his state of Amen, because God is imperceptible. God cannot be seen, heard, felt, touched, tasted. So in order for God to have an experience in this fourth dimensional plane, God has to put his consciousness within a fourth dimensional being, which is you. You see, every creature on this planet was created for a purpose. When a cow defecates, it actually fertilizes the soil. When bees, take the pollen, they spread it around so there could be more growth. Every creature serves a purpose to uphold the whole, to keep the whole functioning. Your purpose is to be the expression of God, to be here so that God can have an experience. Because in the beginning, there was only God. And then God then looked back upon itself. And from that one became the two. And from that subjective realm came the objective realm. But these pastor ministers want to keep the higher knowledge out of your hands because they have to keep you as sheeple, as following them to damnation. There is no salvation in following Jesus. There is no second coming of Jesus. You're being fooled. There's no end times. You're being lied to. Now, let me get to the point of this video of how to get God to talk to you. And our ancestors knew this technique a long time ago. And it is practiced by many occultists or spiritualists even today. And most Christians try to suppress it, say it's of the devil. Now, this is a two-step process, and it's very simple. And I guarantee you, if you do it, you're going to have God speaking to you. Not audibly, And those ministers talk about they heard the voice of God are just lying. Because that which is on men cannot be heard. Remember that. That which is hidden cannot be heard. From the nothingness, which is God, comes all that there is. Because God cannot have a form. And because God does not have a form, then from that nothingness, no thingness, can come all things. If something is confined to a form, then you will never get it to be a tape dispenser. But if something is formless, it can be a tape dispenser or a bottle of water. In fact, water is what the ancient Kemetic people, many ancient cultures associated with God, because water is formless and water takes on any shape. So allow me to go over the two-step process in communicating with God. And again, it is so simple. First off, you need to meditate. You need to meditate on a question or something you want God to answer. Think of a question, one question. Sit there and meditate for 15 minutes a day on that question. Now, what this does is it not so much that you are keep asking God a question. That's not the point. The first time the question comes to mind, God knows it before you know it. You know why? Because you are God. There's even no need for you to ask the question, because God is precognitive. God knows it before you know it, what the question is. But what is important through the meditation process is that you're building a relationship with the Spirit, which is God. And what do I mean by building a relationship? Well, a lot of people find it difficult to sit down and meditate. That is because they have attention deficit disorder, that they are living in a microwave society that wants everything instantaneously. And you're not taught to sit down and quiet the mind, because that is how you get into contact with God. Not the way you see in the Ten Commandments where Moses walks up to the burning bush. God is no respecter of person. God's not going to pick one person to talk through. That's bull. God treats us all equally. God is not going to pick one person to talk to. God does not do that. That would be an unfair God if he or she were to do that. Get that straight. God works through us all equally. So as I said, it's not so much that you're sitting there and you're meditating. And if you want to know more about my meditations, go watch previous videos or join Patreon to do the correct procedure for meditation. You're going to meditate on the question. The important thing is not so much the question, but that you're meditating and you're building a relationship with the Spirit, meaning you're allowing the subconscious mind to come to the forefront. And the more you do this, the more the subconscious mind, you form a connection with the subconscious mind where you didn't have that connection previously. You understand? You're forming a connection with the subconscious mind. This is what I mean by building a relationship with God, because God exists within you. You are the vehicle by which God places its consciousness within you to experience a fourth dimensional plane. Peace, Jennifer. Hatepu. Namaste. When you do this and you reach a certain depth, because right now you're in the beta state, you need to get in the alpha state. You understand? When you reach that alpha state, that is the connection with source. Part of the connection with source. There's a certain level of connection with source. And that means the question has been received, and God will give you now the answer. God is going to speak to you. Your next step is that once you finish this meditation, and you will do it for about 2 weeks, you're going to look for what we call as synchronicities, signs, symbols, and omens in your environment, at your home, at your job, that will come to you with a specific answer to your question. And usually it comes in the form of somebody, like, for example, this is just hypothetical. I want to know how to make an additional 500 in the next week. I ask God that. And a coworker comes up to me. This actually happened too, by the way. Coworker comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to the survey." And I was like, "What survey?" "Oh, you didn't know? It's one of these surveys where you go in, you sit down in a room, and he asks you questions about a product or service. Could be a detergent, could be a movie. They ask you questions about it. And when you're done, they give you $500 in cash." I was like, "I didn't know about this." They go, "Yeah, you want to come? I'll sign you up." Because I'm allowed to sign a person up and bring them with me. So I went, sat down, and sometimes they don't even tell you what the product is. Took the questionnaire. It only took about an hour or so, hour and a half. Left. They gave me exactly $5 in cash. And I had a friend with me, and he went to buy all type. He's into the Lord of the Rings and all. He bought the whole collection of Lord of the Rings with the $500, and he was unemployed too. So I put mine in the bank. Now, do you see the synchronicity there? How that worked out? How God is speaking to me? So then the next night I went into meditation again and said, "Dwa neter." Dwa means thank you. Neter means God. Dwa neter. Now, a lot of times, it's if you're building a good relationship with the Spirit, the answer is going to come back to you direct. If you have a quasi okay relationship with the Spirit, you may get the answer, but it may be a little bit tricky to interpret. So the more close you're related to the Spirit and that relationship with God, the more direct your answer is going to be. And you must be observant, because the answer will come to you. You may miss it. This is why in antiquity, I think it was in ancient Greece, they had the Oracle of Delphi. And these were women who were tucked away from society in these caves, and they would meditate all the time. And you could go to them and ask them a question, and you can get an answer directly from God, because they were meditating 24/7, and they were directly in contact with Source. Now, if you do this enough times, you're going to start to see a dialogue start to happen between you and God. You meditate, ask question, God responds. Just make sure you're looking for the signs and the symbols. And this is a pretty simple technique. That is it. There's nothing more to it. It's not complicated. And this lets you know that there is a divine being out there who is looking out for you. Now, we could take this to the next level. It gets a little more complicated, because then you can find out who exactly you're talking to, because there are different attributes or aspects of God. There's Heheru, there's Tehuti, there's Oser, there's Sebek, there's Ma'at, there's Arukuhuti, and there's Haru. I can say, who am I talking to? Who is responding to me? And then you may see a hawk one day sitting at your doorstep. That lets you know it's Haru that has responded to you, that is communicating with you. And that's a very good omen. But once you go on this track, you're going to see some wondrous synchronicities. I have posed questions, gone to meditation, and gone to a meeting, and the person giving the meeting has repeated my question verbatim and gave an answer. And it was shocking to me. And all I could say was, Dwa neter. So I want you to practice this. So simple technique, but we here are caught up, and the ruling elite keeps us busy, so that we don't have time to sit and think about these things or ponder these things or practice these techniques. We just allocate a certain amount of time on a day of the week, which is Sunday, to go to the minister and just let him tell us what we should think. Let us be robots. Yeah. That's not what God wanted you to be. You sitting in that church is a violation of your being, of your God state, because you're allowing another person to lead you. God wanted you to be the leader. The whole story of the Sar and the Set and the Ru battling Set. Ru battling Set. Set is the lower emotions. Haru becoming victorious is you becoming the king and you sitting on the throne. Jennifer, I've worked with Tai Chi machines, and they're pretty good depending on the machine you get. So I don't know which machine you're referring to, but a lot of them are very, very helpful in a lot of ways. So, but what I don't like pay for things like that anymore. I just practice Qigong, which is a lot better in my opinion. You know, Qigong. So hit the like button. If you get an opportunity, donate to this channel. Don't forget, this weekend, we're having my filmmakers and actors networking dinner. It's going to be awesome. It's on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. West Coast time. This is Qesankh Ma'a Keparu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, I'm in Ra.